Throughout the history of time, many kings have appeared who built massive empires through the strength of their swords. From Alexander the Great to Genghis Khan, or from the pharaohs to Nimrod, there is no shortage of rulers who displayed their dominance over the earth. But written in golden letters on the pages of human history, there is the name of one king whose reign and power cannot be compared to any other ruler in the world. His command did not just rule over humans, rather the invisible Jinn race, the wild animals and birds, and even the flowing wind were obedient to his orders. He is none other than the Prophet of Almighty Allah and the magnificent king, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. In today's age, science and technology have taken us very far, but thousands of years ago, events took place in the court of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam that even defeat modern science. However, regarding his unimaginable power and kingdom, various fictional stories have spread by word of mouth through the ages. Among these, the most famous and widely circulated story is that of the Ring of Sulaiman, or the Magic Ring. In the alleys of our society, at tea stalls, or in various books of fiction, it is often heard that Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam had a magic ring in his hand. It is said that it was only through the power of this ring that the jinns, fairies, animals and birds listened to him. There is even a false story circulated that once a devil or jinn stole that ring, and after losing the ring, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam lost his kingdom and wandered the streets. Finally, after recovering the ring from the belly of a fish, he regained his power. But dear viewers, in today's discussion, we will not be swayed by emotion, but will face pure evidence. As Muslims, we should know, how true is this story of the magic ring? Is it really a historical event? Or is it a fabricated story that infiltrated from the distorted religious texts of the Jews and Christians? Through a deep search of the Quran and Sunnah, we find that these stories centered around a magic ring are essentially Isra'iliyyat, Israelite narrations. According to the pure beliefs, Aqidah, of Islam, the miraculous power or miracles of any prophet or messenger can never depend on a lifeless object. If the power of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam were limited to just a ring, then what would be the difference between a common magician and a great prophet? Allah the Almighty does not give His beloved prophet such fragile power that would vanish just by losing a simple ring. Allah directly preserves the power and status of the prophets. The life and kingdom of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam have been discussed in detail in the Holy Quran in Surah Saba, Surah An-Naml, and Surah Sad. In not a single verse of these surahs has Allah Almighty mentioned any magic ring. Rather, Allah has clearly stated that this vast kingdom and miraculous power of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was a special gift directly from Allah. It was the result of his prayer, not the trickery of a ring. Those who believe that the jinns were controlled because of a ring are unknowingly assigning a ring as a partner to Allah's power, which is extremely risky for our faith. In reality, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam might have held a ring as a royal seal, which kings of that time used. But the source of his miraculous power was not that ring. The source of his power was his tears before his Lord and a historic prayer. He asked Allah for a kingdom that no one before him had received, and no one after him would receive. Allah accepted that prayer and granted him an empire where even the laws of nature waited for his command. And the beginning of this power happened through an amazing event, which did not depend on any magic ring, but depended on the will of an almighty entity. How Allah Almighty accepted that plea of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam is described beautifully in the pages of the Holy Quran. After accepting the burden of kingship, he raised his hands to the court of his Lord and made a prayer that no one else in history dared to make. In Surah Sad of the Holy Quran, Allah mentions that prayer. He said, "My Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as will not belong to anyone after me. Indeed, you are the bestower." This prayer of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was not merely out of greed for worldly power. Rather, he wanted such a sign of prophethood that would remind people of Allah's infinite power until the day of judgment. Allah accepted the prayer of his beloved servant and gave him authority over creations that are beyond human imagination. The very first miraculous power Allah Almighty granted him was control over the wind. We know that wind is an invisible force that cannot be held or touched. Yet this wind can become a storm and destroy big cities. Allah made that unruly wind a slave to the command of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. In Surah Saba of the Quran, Allah says, "Then we subjected the wind to him, to flow gently by his order wherever he directed." Think about this deeply. In today's age, to go from one country to another, we need supersonic jets or rockets, which require millions in fuel and advanced technology. But thousands of years ago, without any engine or fuel, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam traveled riding on the back of the wind. In verse 12 of Surah Saba, Allah gives an idea about the speed of this miraculous journey. Allah says, "And to Sulaiman the wind, its morning journey was 1 month, and its afternoon journey was 1 month." This means that the distance a person would travel in 1 month. On a fast horse at that time, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam would cross that path from morning until noon in just a few hours. Again, from afternoon until evening, he would cross another month's journey. That is, in 1 day, he would cross a long path of 2 months in the blink of an eye. According to some commentators, when Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam wished to go somewhere, he would sit on his massive throne or a special vehicle and take the name of Allah. Immediately, a powerful wind would come and lift that vehicle into the void. The strange thing is, this wind was not destructive like a storm. Rather, it was extremely comfortable and gentle. Wherever Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam wanted to land, the wind would drop him exactly there. Seeing this massive aerial journey, the people below would stare in amazement and declare the greatness of Allah. This control over the wind proves that this power is not the trick of a ring, but rather a clear miracle given by the great Lord. If control over the wind has amazed you, then hearing about his dominance over the Jinn race will surely make you shiver. The Jinn race is a creation made of fire and stays hidden from human eyes. Their strength and speed are beyond human imagination. Usually, jinns prefer to stay out of human reach and try to harm humans whenever they get a chance. But Allah Almighty made even this fierce and invisible race obedient, like slaves, at the feet of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. In Surah Saba of the Holy Quran, Allah says, "And we also subjected the jinns to him, every builder and diver." Think about it. The jinns whom humans fear, those jinns used to fear Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. They performed such massive construction works at his command that were impossible for humans to create. Allah Almighty describes this work in Surah Saba saying, "They made for him what he willed of elevated chambers, statues, bowls like reservoirs, and cooking pots fixed in their places." From this verse, it is understood that the jinns built towering palaces, prayer arches, and such massive structures for him which were unimaginable. With the technology of that era, even they would dive deep into the ocean floor and bring up precious pearls and corals for his royal treasury. But did these jinns work voluntarily? Not at all. There was a system of severe punishment for those among them who were disobedient or rebellious. Allah Almighty says, "And others bound together in shackles." That is, if any jinn showed even the slightest courage to disobey the command of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, he would be chained through the miraculous power given by Allah. The wonders of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam's kingdom do not end here. Allah granted him knowledge that was not given to any other human on earth. That is, mantic at-tair, or the ability to understand the language of animals and birds. He could talk to the beasts of the forest and the birds of the sky. He could inquire about their happiness and sorrow. One day, he was marching with his massive army, where humans, jinns, and birds were moving in rows. At that very moment, a strange incident occurred, which proves how kind and alert he was. Despite being a mighty king, that historic event took place in a vast valley, known in history as Wadi An-Naml, or the Valley of Ants. Prophet Sulaiman, alayhi salam, was passing through that path with his massive royal army. Humans were at the front of his army, jinns at the back, and thousands of birds were flying overhead providing shade. Seeing such a huge army, any creature would be terrified. Just at that moment, a tiny ant sensed the danger to its companions and screamed out. In Surah An-Naml of the Holy Quran, that warning of the ant has been quoted exactly. The ant said, "O ants, enter your dwellings, that you not be crushed by Sulaiman and his soldiers, while they perceive not." The noticeable thing is, the ant did not make any complaint against Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. Rather it said, while they perceive not, meaning even a tiny creature knew that a prophet of Allah would never knowingly kill any innocent life. Allah Almighty had made the hearing of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam so sharp that even amidst the footsteps of thousands of soldiers, he heard the cry of that tiny ant. He stopped his entire army. Hearing the ant's words, he smiled and expressed gratitude to Allah, saying, "My Lord, enable me to be grateful for your favor which you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents." The compassion he showed to save the life of a trivial ant, despite being a world emperor, remains a unique example in the pages of history today. After crossing the Valley of Ants, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam went to inspect the flock of birds in his army. He was a very disciplined and strict administrator. Looking at the rows of birds, he suddenly stopped. His sharp eyes found an empty space. He asked in an angry tone, "What is the matter? Why do I not see the hoopoe, Hudhud? Or is he among the absentees?" Being absent from the king's court without permission was a serious crime. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam announced, "I will surely punish him with a severe punishment or slaughter him unless he brings me clear authorization." A short while later, the hoopoe bird arrived at the court in fear. But in its eyes and face, there was the excitement of sharing sensational information. It stood before Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam and said with great courage, "I have encompassed in knowledge that which you have not encompassed, and I have come to you from Sheba with certain news." The hoopoe reported that it had seen a settlement where a woman was conducting the rule. Allah had granted her all kinds of worldly wealth and abundance. But the most amazing thing was that this queen had a massive and magnificent throne. The hoopoe further informed, "I found her and her people prostrating to the sun instead of Allah, and Satan has made their deeds pleasing to them and averted them from his way." Hearing this news from the hoopoe, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam became disturbed. On one hand, the discovery of a vast empire, and on the other hand, the worship of the sun instead of Allah was going on there. He could not accept this. However, he was a just judge. So without fully believing the hoopoe's words, he decided to verify the truth. He said, "We will see whether you were truthful or were of the liars." Then he decided to send a letter to that queen through the hoopoe itself. A letter which was one of the greatest diplomatic and invitation letters in world history. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam wrote a letter without delay. This letter was extremely short, but its meaning was deep and extremely influential. He ordered the hoopoe, "Take this letter of mine and deliver it to them. Then leave them and see what they return in answer." The hoopoe did exactly that. It went to the royal palace of the city of Saba, Sheba, and dropped the letter in front of Queen Bilqis. Queen Bilqis took the letter in her hand. She was an extremely intelligent and prudent ruler. Upon opening the letter, she understood its gravity. She immediately summoned her cabinet of ministers and commanders. Addressing everyone, she said, "O eminent ones, indeed to me has been delivered a noble letter." Then she read the letter aloud. The letter began with the name of Almighty Allah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Then it was written, "Be not haughty with me, but come to me in submission as Muslims." The language of the letter was clear and unambiguous. There was no pleading here, it was a final command. The members of the Queen's Council, who were proud of their military power, said, "We are men of strength and of great military might. But the command is yours, so see what you will command." Their hint was clear. They were ready for war. and would not hesitate to take up arms against Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. But Queen Bilqis knew this was no ordinary letter. She calmed her emotional ministers and displayed a sign of political wisdom. She said, "Indeed, kings, when they enter a city, they ruin it and render the honor of its people humbled." She realized that the outcome of war is never good. Therefore, avoiding war, she adopted a different strategy. She wanted to test Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. She thought, if he is an ordinary worldly king, he will be happy receiving vast wealth and gifts and will be satisfied with our submission. And if he is truly a prophet of Allah, he will reject these trivial worldly riches. According to this plan, Queen Bilqis arranged to send a massive fleet of precious gold, jewelry, and gifts via messengers. When the messengers of the city of Saba reached the court of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam in Jerusalem with that huge fleet of gifts, their eyes widened in shock. They saw that the splendor and grandeur of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam's court were millions of times greater than the gifts they brought. Humans, jinns, and animals and birds were standing in disciplined rows, waiting for his command. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam did not even look back at their brought gifts. Rather, he said in a very harsh tone, "Do you aid me with wealth? But what Allah has given me is better than what He has given you. Rather, it is you who rejoice in your gift." He clearly told the messengers, "Return to them, for we will surely come to them with soldiers that they will be powerless to encounter. And we will surely expel them therefrom in humiliation, and they will be debased." This strict message and greedless attitude towards wealth by Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam proved that he was not just hungry for power, he was uncompromising in establishing the religion of Allah. The messengers returned failed and delivered this news to the queen. Queen Bilqis realized that no trickery, bribery, or show of force would work with this king. So she decided that she herself would appear at the court of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam with her entourage. When Queen Bilqis set out for the court of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam with the intention of surrendering, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam made a unique plan. He wanted to present her famous throne in his court in Jerusalem before the queen arrived. This was not just a matter of showing power, but it was a miracle of prophethood, through which Queen Bilqis could understand that she had not come before an ordinary king, but before an entity who had a direct connection with Almighty Allah. Moreover, the throne was the symbol of the power of the city of Saba, kept inside an extremely secure and locked palace. To bring that throne intact across a distance of thousands of miles was a kind of impossible fantasy. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam looked at the courtiers of his court, among whom humans, jinns, and other creations were present, and threw a historic challenge. He said, "O assembly, which of you will bring me her throne before they come to me in submission?" Pin-drop silence descended on the court. From the city of Saba, that is Yemen, to Palestine, the distance is more than 2,000 miles. Crossing this long path and bringing such a heavy object in the blink of an eye was not easy even for an ordinary jinn. Suddenly, a powerful and gigantic jinn from among the jinns, whom the Quran calls Ifrit, stood up. He said with extreme confidence,
"I will bring it before you rise."
And indeed, I am for this task strong and trustworthy. According to some descriptions, at that time, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam used to conduct judicial proceedings from morning until noon. According to Ifrit's proposal, within these few hours, he was capable of crossing thousands of miles and bringing that massive throne. This was undoubtedly a display of amazing speed and power. But Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam wanted something even faster, something even more miraculous. He wanted something that would defeat even the limits of time. Just then, a person stood up who had knowledge of the book. According to many commentators, this knowledge of the book is Ism-e-Azam, or that great name of Allah, by reciting which if one prays, Allah accepts it immediately. That person humbly said,
"I will bring it before your glance returns."
Subhanallah, blinking an eye is a matter of less than a second. No sooner had the words finished than Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam looked and saw that massive, heavy, and pearl-studded throne of Queen Bilqis was standing still in front of him, as if it had been kept there from before. Seeing this unimaginable scene, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam did not float away in arrogance, nor did he boast of his power. He immediately bowed down in prostration and expressed gratitude to Allah. He said, "Haza min fadli Rabbi."
This is from the favor of my Lord.
He tests me whether I'm grateful or ungrateful. And whoever is grateful, his gratitude is for the benefit of himself. This event proves that the power of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was not the magical power of a ring. If the ring did everything, he would have ordered the ring. But here help was taken from a person whose heart held special knowledge given by Allah. After the throne arrived, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam showed another sign of intelligence. He ordered, "Disguise for her throne. We will see whether she will be guided to truth, or will be of those who is not guided." Finally, crossing the long path, Queen Bilqis arrived at the royal court of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam in Jerusalem. When she entered the court, showing her that altered throne, she was asked, "Is your throne like this?" Queen Bilqis observed the throne carefully. She saw that it looked exactly like her throne, yet slightly different too. If she said, "Yes, this is mine," it would be wrong because the design had been changed. Again, if she said, "No, this is not mine," it would also be wrong because the main structure was hers. So she answered with extreme wisdom, "It is as though it were it." Hearing her answer, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam understood that Allah had not only given this woman wealth but also granted her extraordinary intelligence. Before the amazement of the throne could fade, an even bigger surprise was waiting for Queen Bilqis, which was ready to turn the course of her life. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam had ordered the Jinns to build a special palace beforehand, which the Quran calls Saba, or a palace of transparent crystal. The floor of this palace was made of transparent glass or crystal, and beneath that glass flowed a fountain of clear water. Fish and aquatic creatures were swimming in the water. Looking from above, it seemed there was no covering on the floor. Directly deep water shimmering. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam invited the queen to enter that palace. When Queen Bilqis looked at the floor, she thought it was a deep body of water. To ensure her royal dress did not get wet, she pulled up the lower part of her clothes slightly. Seeing this misconception of hers, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam said in a calm voice, "Innahu sarhum mumarradum min qawarir," meaning, "Indeed, it is a palace made smooth with glass. It is not water." This single moment completely turned Queen Bilqis's world of thought upside down. She realized that just as she had made a mistake thinking glass was water, exactly in the same way, she had made a mistake thinking the visible sun was a god all this time. Just as glass has no light of its own, the flow of water beneath makes it alive. Exactly so the sun has no power of its own. A great entity controls it. She felt to her bones how trivial human knowledge is before this technology of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. She realized that Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam is not just a powerful king. He is a true prophet sent by Allah. This power of his is not any magic or trickery. It is the power of Allah. Queen Bilqis did not delay a moment longer. All her arrogance, aristocracy, and false beliefs were shattered in an instant. She surrendered to the court of Allah with a repentant heart. In the language of the Holy Quran, and that historic confession of hers was, "My Lord, indeed I have wronged myself, and I submit with Sulaiman to Allah, Lord of the worlds." She accepted Islam and took shelter under the shade of monotheism. Dear viewers, this event of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam and Queen Bilqis is a huge lesson for us. The common story of the magic ring is merely a superstition, which belittles the dignity and status of the prophets. The real power of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was not in a ring. It was in his faith, in his prayer, and in the knowledge given by Allah. In today's age, we get overwhelmed seeing slight advancements in technology. Yet thousands of years ago, Allah gave His prophet such technology and power, which is still beyond our imagination. Power, kingdom, and wealth, all these are gifts from Allah. And the truly intelligent person is the one who, like Queen Bilqis, after seeing the truth, does not delay in bowing their head to the great Lord. I hope that through today's long discussion, you have been able to know the true mystery of the kingdom and power of Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, and that the common misconception about the magic ring has been removed from your minds. If the video has touched your heart even slightly and helps in increasing your faith, our hard work will be successful. To know such unknown and thrilling true history of Islam, subscribe to our channel and become a member of our family. See you in the next video with an unknown chapter of another prophet's life. Until then, may Almighty Allah keep you all healthy and safe. Ameen.